Hello everybody, it's Julia here from the Highly Sensitive Tarot, and I'm back today with card number 16 in the Tarot Top Trumps series, and today we're looking at the Tower, and this is a tag started by the lovely Mascha at Musings by Mascha, and yeah, we're up to card number 16, so not many to go now. I've really enjoyed recording these videos and spending the time looking through my decks and choosing cards to show. And I think this card, the Tower, is one of the few cards in the deck that does fill me with some apprehension because this card had a major impact, I suppose. It manifested in a major way back in my life 5 or 6 years ago. I think this card is ruled by Mars, isn't it? It has it as its ruling planet. So this is essentially a card about war, isn't it? War between, I guess, the structure of lies and those sort of false concepts and ideas that we just take for granted or we take as real, and then those lightning flashes of truth and clarity that we can get sometimes. I think in its higher realms, this card would definitely represent choosing to dismantle something that is no longer useful in your life. And it's the sort of breaking down of old beliefs and old patterns and healing aspects of your life, breakthrough in new areas of your life. And in its lower realms, it would be continuing to live with that kind of oppression and feeling entrapped and living in a rut, maybe, so just following the old ways that don't work for you. And I always think with this card that the more, in terms of shadow work anyway, because I mainly use my tarot cards with myself for personal development and shadow work, just ways to explore aspects of myself and my life. And I've always sort of thought with this card that really how rigid your personality is will determine how severe the disruptions of the Tower will be in your life when it does manifest. And 5 or 6 years ago, it manifested in a really quite extreme way for me. 5-6 years ago, I was aged 50. My menopause hit me like a truck. I think it had been creeping up for a while, but it really hit me badly. And along with it came, like I said, those little lightning flashes of truth about my life and the way that I was living my life, and those realizations that I wasn't getting my own needs met in life. I was living for other people. I was not living for myself. And I think when my menopause hit, it was a really big shake-up for me, and everything really in my life began to crash down. Like we say about this card, there's shocking revelations, shake-ups, beliefs will be brought crashing down. It's about false structures, isn't it? Things that were hidden will become transparent. And just that harsh realization that nothing that's built on lies or falsehoods will survive very long, and it took me quite a long time to disentangle myself from the life that I was living, and it was traumatic, to say the least. I had a relationship breakup, I left work, I left the home that I was living in, which I was devastated about. There was just, I turned my life upside down, basically, and for a long time, I didn't think I was going to survive it, For a long time, I was scared that I'd made the wrong decision. But But now, looking back 5 or 6 years ago, it was entirely necessary, and I'm glad and I'm happy that I went through that process. But it was dramatic, it was shocking, it was a dark night of the soul. I think that's what I'm looking to say. You know, I think the Tower card for many of us can be that dark night of the soul, can't it? When you're suddenly brought face to face with yourself, the reality of yourself and your life, the life that you've built, that you've allowed to happen. And then, you know, we get into that, whether you're able to choose to dismantle that's not useful in your life anymore and heal those things, or whether you just can't, you know, for whatever reason, you're so trapped that you can't disentangle yourself, excuse me, from that energy and from that influence in your life. But I do always believe that these things will come about at some point, you know. I think good questions to ask yourself when you think about this card is, you know, what sudden realizations have you made? What suddenly happened to trigger your emotions? And in me, that was obviously my menopause, wasn't it? What are you angry about, or what have you been repressing? And with me, it was I'd been repressing that I wasn't able to live my life authentically. I was living my life for somebody else. And, you know, things like, what are my self-limiting beliefs? What are the things that are holding me back? What are the things that are preventing me from choosing to break down those limiting sort of beliefs and move on and break through and forge a new path ahead for myself, for yourself? So yeah, anyway, that's kind of enough waffling about the Tower. It's just, for me, it really was a very powerful card, and I think it doesn't come up very often for me in readings anymore, for myself, which I'm very pleased about, but I'm sure that it will again in the future. There's a situation in my life at the moment that has the potential to be a Tower moment at some point, and I'm trying to not not be blinded about this situation, to have the clarity in the forefront of my mind about it, so that it doesn't have to become such an enormous and shocking shake-up in my life. But yeah, anyway, so this little Tower card here is from the Morgan Greer Tower, and I thought I'd just put that there for you, just to demonstrate that lightning, really. And I just also like the water, the emotion at the bottom of the Tower, like crashing against the tower there. But that's not one of my 5 anyway. That was just for you to look at while I was talking. So let's just get into my 5 cards. And the first one is this one, and it's from the Psychic Tarot deck by John Holland. And this is not a deck that I pull out very often. I did used to read with it quite a lot. I think it's a very good deck. But this Tower card here I particularly like. It's called Disruption, and instead of an actual building or a tower, we've got a person here stacked like a tower, and they're broken and they're sliding, and it's like his hands together there in front of his chest are protective and defensive, aren't they? It's like he's doing everything he can to hold himself together. And I do think that's the key with this card, is that sometimes you just have to let it all go. You know, you have to let it all fall. You have to let it all slide. Let's just see what the book says, if there's anything more than I've said. So it just says, even if it does appear to be a negative experience, it can lead to enlightenment or a total shift in your lifestyle. It's the opportunity to rebuild with a solid positive structure to make you or your situation even stronger. the card is a reminder that negative thinking, limiting beliefs, ignoring problematic situations and risky or careless lifestyles must be addressed so that these positive changes can take place, because life has a habit of moving you forward whether you like it or not. So yeah, I really, really like this card. I remember feeling like that. I remember feeling like I was so desperately holding everything together, even though bits of me were sliding all over the place. I remember that. So there's that one, the Psychic Tower. Another card that I really like, and this is from the lovely Anna Kay Tarot. I think I'm going to, do you know, all throughout this series, I've tried to remember at the end of the video to keep the 5 cards out so that I can lay them out at the end. And I think almost every video I've forgotten, so I'm going to try and remember this time. So yeah, this is the Anna Kay Tarot, and there's nothing too exciting about this card. It is very much a tower card, but I don't know, it just feels very dramatic to me. We can see the people falling. There's fire, the tower's split apart, there's lightning. And what I love is the water, you know, the emotions. It's swirling round and round the tower, it's crashing against the tower. And eventually, all of that water and all of that emotion will have caused the foundations of this tower to start to break down. And I really, really like that. Let's just have a look in the guidebook, see if there's anything in here that is interesting. Yeah, it says what we once thought kept us secure collapses and our whole world outlook is destroyed. Nothing can be the same afterwards. Such experiences are always frightening, but there's much potential in them. And many mystics of all faiths say they went through a total breakdown before their experience of oneness or before their experience of meeting God. It took the collapse of everything they had thought to be true to open the door to this new reality. That's what I said, isn't it? This sort of dark night of the soul. And that, and it's saying that it's really not enough to just remove a few bricks from the pinnacles and build a new roof. The only chance really when this is going on here is to start something truly new on a safe and strong foundation, and allow the old foundation to collapse. So yeah, I really like that card. That's the Anna Kay. I thought this would be a really interesting card for the tower. I haven't looked at my Herbcrafters tarot for a while, but I am aware, I remember that the tower card for this is mushrooms. And I just think that's a brilliant idea, isn't it, for the tower? Because I know that mushrooms are sort of like the, what's the word that I want? They break down things, don't they? They break down the soil. I think is it mycelium that spreads out like a sort of network under the ground. It's renewing and recharging and breaking down the old soil and turning it into something new, I think, isn't it? There's a word I just can't think of. My brain. My menopausal brain. Where are we? Let's have a look in this book. What's the word? Decomposers. That's the word I was looking for. They are the decomposers of the forest, aren't they? Or of woodland, or of, wherever it is that they grow. It says here, a tree crashes in a dark wood on a bed of brown, gold and green leaves, and a large decaying piece of the trunk is covered in mushrooms. When the wood is touched, it gives way and it crumbles to dust. Light shines through the forest and hits the log, illuminating the vibrant colour of the mushrooms. So this sudden change that led to destruction and upheaval, allows these mushrooms to flourish, really, doesn't it? Mushrooms are the instigators of transformation in the forest. They spark that foundational healing with all of their little networks all under the ground. They are decomposers. They convert material that's no longer useful into something that living things can eat. They break down and absorb environmental contaminants. They recycle decaying materials, and they bring nutrients to the soil. And I think very much for us as people, the eating of mushrooms brings a lot of strength to our body. You know, I think even very humble button mushrooms have a lot of immune system building qualities in them. I think they are genuinely a superfood, aren't they, mushrooms? They're very, very good for you to eat. So they're a food that could give you that strength to make the breakthroughs in your life that you need to transform your life. So I really like that one. The next one is from my zombie tarot. This is a bit of a silly one, really, but I just love my zombie tarot. I think the majors particularly have some quite genius cards in them. This is the Tower in the zombie tarot. And I think this card is kind of saying that, you know, even though these people may well be living on the top floor, maybe in the penthouse, where they think that they are safe and secure away from the zombie apocalypse, you know, they're not, are they? The zombies have managed to work their way up the tower gradually, and they've broken through. Let's see what it says in the guidebook. Where are we? The tower. It says, sure, everything seems fine. You're 20 stories above ground in a private building that's guarded by a security force. So what's the harm in relaxing with a few friends? But the tower reminds us that appearances can be deceiving. You never know when a horde of zombies might come through your door. This is an ideal time to question the reality of your situation. Are you as safe and secure as you think? So it's just a little bit of light relief, that deck there. I like that very much. And the last card I want to show you is from this deck. This is the Inner Child's cards, Fairy Tale Tarot by Isha Lerner and Mark Lerner, illustrated by Christopher Guilfoyle. This is a beautiful deck. It's beautiful in so many ways. And the majors in this deck have, you know, a fairy story that goes with them, and a kind of lesson within that story. And the tower, as you might guess, is Rapunzel. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read you the story from the book. So it's up to you if you want to sit and listen. It may take a few minutes, but I think it's a beautiful story, and it does illustrate, you know, the thoughts behind the Tower card quite well. So I'm just going to read you it. Where are we? Wishing on a Star. Rapunzel. There's about 3 pages. So the lightning-struck tower has always been the central image for the 16th card of the major arcana. Over the centuries, it has been designed with male and female figures falling from the top of the tower walls. This symbol portrays the purging of ego-centered consciousness and the recognition that material foundations cannot be the basis for spiritual life. Humanity can erect a Tower of Babel, elegant buildings and shimmering land skyscrapers, but humility must accompany our greatest efforts and achievements as we reach towards the heavens. The fairy tale Rapunzel represents the tower in these cards. In the story, a couple prays for a child. The woman's wish is granted, and while she's pregnant, she sees a beautiful garden over her fence. She asks her husband to take some of the greenery that grows there. However, it turns out that the garden belongs to an enchantress, and the husband is caught stealing the herbs. The enchantress tells him that in order to live, he must promise her his daughter. Hastily he agrees, abandoning the common sense for the love of his wife. The daughter is named Rapunzel, and at age 12, which is the onset of puberty, I've lost my place now. At the onset of puberty, she is taken away by the enchantress. She is locked into a tower that has no steps. Besides her beauty, she has a wonderful singing voice and long golden hair. Rapunzel has never seen a man other than her father, and one day a prince travelling into the woods hears her sing and watches as the enchantress calls, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Rapunzel drops her hair from the tower window and the enchantress climbs up her braid. When the enchantress leaves, the prince calls for the braid and ascends to the top of the tower. Rapunzel is frightened at first, but then soothed by his gentle voice and his sensitive manner. The enchantress finds out that Rapunzel has been visited by the prince and cuts off her braid and abandons the young girl in a desert. When the prince returns, the enchantress takes Rapunzel's place in the tower, puts the braid down, and as he climbs up, cuts the braid, causing the prince to fall into the brambles and lose his sight. While wandering around blind, he meets Rapunzel in the desert. Her tears of joy heal his vision, and they live happily ever after together with their twin children, a boy and a girl. Traditionally, this card has been affiliated with the planet Mars. The fairy tale focuses on ego-orientated issues, and hair is a manifestation of ego. Rapunzel is unevolved, yet in the tower she goes through deep changes. This is symbolic of the fact that we cannot enter the tower until we reach puberty. Then we are moved beyond ourselves, shocked into new awareness. Rapunzel's singing represents the awakening of her throat chakra, emphasizing her need to be heard and recognized by the world. Her long hair is connected with the unfoldment of ego-centered consciousness. In Rapunzel's situation, her new life is the desert experience where she gives birth, symbolizing her initiation into a greater experience. The blinded prince symbolizes the need to stop our active pursuits and to avoid becoming dependent on our outer senses. Each individual at the tower stage of reality must journey within and cultivate her or his higher psychic abilities and intuitive thought processes. When this card appears in your reading, be prepared for transformative experiences. The only certainty now is change and metamorphosis. Unexpected and shocking events may be on the horizon. Purge your ego of old desires, fears, and grudges. A sudden mental breakthrough can help you release from your personality attachments and limitations. Just as Rapunzel's beautiful golden braid was chopped off by the enchantress in order to banish her from the loving prince or from her active will, so is your ego consciousness being refined and changed. It is time to cut away the strands of the past that connect you to old karma and worn-out patterns and emerge into the purity and clarity of a revived future. So there we go. I hope that you enjoyed that. I think that story is really interesting, isn't it? And does make you think really very much about that journey of the tower and that need to dismantle what's no longer useful in your life, you know, the breaking down of old habits and beliefs and having breakthroughs. So yeah, I think while a slightly scary card for me, it's also been a very, very positive card for me. It's taken, you know, I'm still probably only just really getting my life properly back together after nearly 6 years of the crashing down of my tower. But it was definitely needed and necessary and important, and I don't regret it for an instant. So I hope that you have some positive experiences like that yourself, that if you have had a dark night of the soul, that you've emerged from that feeling happier and healthier and more authentic, more connected with yourself. So yeah, let's put the cards out that I chose. So we've got the inner child cards, we've got the psychic tower, we've got the Anna Kay, we've got the Herbcrafters, and we've got the zombie tarot with the little Morgan Greer there as well. So thanks ever so much for watching. I realised I've waffled on for a little while again, so if you've stuck with me to the end, thanks very much. Please do say hello, and I will catch up with you all soon. Thank you.